The rain hammered against the windscreen as Marcus Chen gripped the steering wheel tighter. 15 years protecting the royal family. 15 years of silence, loyalty, and secrets. But tonight, everything would change. The black Range Rover cut through the empty London streets at 2:47 a.m. In the back seat sat Prince William, staring out the window. Beside Marcus in the passenger seat was the briefcase. Prince Harry's briefcase. The one Marcus wasn't supposed to see inside. The one that made his hands shake even now. Marcus had served in the special forces before joining royal protection. He'd seen combat. He'd faced armed militants. But nothing prepared him for what he discovered 3 hours ago in that hotel room. Marcus, Prince William's voice cut through the silence. I need you to understand something. Marcus met his eyes in the rearview mirror. The future king looked tired. More than tired, broken, Your Highness. With respect, I'm not sure I can. You can't tell anyone, William interrupted. His voice wasn't commanding. It was pleading. Please. For Harry's sake, for all of us. Marcus thought about his daughter, Emily, 7 years old. Beautiful smile. She loved stories about princes and princesses. She thought the royal family was magical. What would he tell her now? Before we continue with what Marcus discovered, if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button. These are the kinds of emotional, true-feeling stories we bring you every week. You won't want to miss what happens next. The story began 6 days earlier. Marcus had been assigned to shadow Prince Harry during a private visit to a London psychiatric hospital. Standard protection detail. Nothing unusual. Harry had been visiting soldiers suffering from PTSD. Good publicity. Good cause. But something felt off. Harry kept checking his phone. Every 5 minutes. His jaw was clenched. His eyes darted around constantly. Marcus knew anxiety when he saw it. He'd lived with it himself after Afghanistan. After the hospital visit, Harry did something unexpected. He asked Marcus to drive him to a storage facility in East London. No other security, no press. Just them. I need to pick something up, Harry had said quietly. And Marcus, I need your word. Whatever you see today stays between us. Marcus should have refused. Protocol existed for a reason. But he'd known Harry since he was a teenager. Watched him grow up. Watched him struggle after his mother died. Watched him try to find his place in a world that never felt quite right for him. So, Marco drove. The storage facility was gray and lifeless. Security cameras everywhere. Harry used a key card to access Unit 237. He went in alone. Marcus waited outside, listening to the rain start to fall. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Marcus was about to check on him when Harry emerged. He looked pale. In his hands was a metal briefcase. Not expensive, not royal, just plain silver metal with a combination lock. Let's go, Harry whispered. They drove in silence. Harry clutched the briefcase like it contained his soul. Maybe it did. Drop me at Kensington Palace, Harry said. And Marcus, thank you. For not asking questions? But Marcus did have questions. Hundreds of them. And 3 days later, those questions would destroy everything he thought he knew about loyalty. The call came at midnight. William's private secretary. Emergency. Prince Harry was missing. Last seen, leaving Kensington Palace on foot at 10 p.m. No security, no phone. Just the briefcase. Marcus was one of 12 bodyguards deployed to find him. They searched parks, hotels, his favorite pubs. Nothing. 6 hours of nothing. Then Marcus remembered something. A conversation. Months ago, Harry mentioning a friend who owned a small hotel near Camden. A place where nobody asked questions. Marcus went alone. The hotel was called the Monarch's Rest. Ironic name for a place where a prince was hiding. The building was old, brick-faced, with ivy climbing the walls. A small neon sign flickered in the window. Vacancy, Marcus parked down the street. His training kicked in. Observe first. Act second. Through the rain-streaked window of the lobby he saw movement. A figure pacing. Even from this distance, Marcus recognized the walk. Harry, he was alone. The briefcase sat on a coffee table in front of him. Open. Marcus's heart pounded. He should call William. He should call the head of security. But something stopped him. The way Harry was moving, agitated, desperate. Like a man on the edge of something terrible, Marcus approached the entrance. The door was unlocked. Inside, the lobby smelled of old carpet and cigarette smoke disguised by air freshener. An elderly man sat behind the desk, reading a newspaper.
Room 12.
The man said without looking up. He's expecting someone. Might as well be you. Marcus climbed the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. At the top of the stairs, he turned left. Room 12 was at the end of the hallway. The door was slightly open. Light spilled out into the darkness. He knocked gently. Your Highness? Marcus. Harry's voice was rough, exhausted. Come in. Close the door. The room was small. A single bed. A wooden chair. A lamp casting yellow light across peeling wallpaper. Harry sat on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. The briefcase lay open on the floor in front of him. Marcus couldn't see inside from the doorway. How did you find me? Harry asked. I remembered you mentioning this place. Harry laughed bitterly. Of course you did. You remember everything. That's what makes you so good at your job. Marcus took a step closer. Sir, everyone's looking for you. William is worried sick. The Queen has been informed. We need to get you back. I can't go back, Harry said quietly. Not yet. Not until I figure out what to do with this. He gestured to the briefcase. Marcus took another step, and then he saw it. Inside the briefcase were letters. Hundreds of them. Handwritten. Some old and yellowed. Some recent and white. All addressed to the same person, Prince Harry. But these weren't fan letters. These weren't well wishes from supporters. Marcus picked up the one on top. His hands trembled as he read the first line. My dearest son, if you're reading this, then I've kept my promise. I've stayed away, but I've never stopped loving you. The signature at the bottom made Marcus's blood run cold. It was signed, Your Father, James Hewitt. The room spun. Marcus sat down hard on the chair. James Hewitt. The name every royal watcher knew. The man who had an affair with Princess Diana. The man people whispered about in tabloids. The man some believed was Harry's biological father. Keep reading, Harry said. His voice was empty. Marcus picked up another letter. This one was older. The paper was brittle. I watched you take your first steps on television. I cried. I wanted to be there. Your mother said it was impossible. She was right. But it didn't stop the pain. Another letter. I see your face in the newspapers. You have her smile. But you have my eyes, my temper, my sadness. Marcus looked up at Harry. Where did these come from? The storage unit, Harry said. My mother kept them. All of them. She never told me. She never told anyone. When she died, someone close to her took them, kept them safe, waited for the right time to give them to me. Who? Does it matter? Harry's voice cracked. The point is, they're real. I had them analyzed. The handwriting matches samples from Hewitt. The DNA on the envelope seals. Marcus, I had them tested. Marcus felt sick. And Harry looked him straight in the eye. 99.7% match. James Hewitt is my biological father, not Charles. The future King of England is not my father. I'm not a real prince. I'm a bastard. The word hung in the air like poison. Marcus tried to process what he was hearing. 15 years of protecting a family built on bloodlines and tradition. And one of them wasn't who everyone thought he was. Does William know? Marcus asked. I told him yesterday. That's why I ran. I couldn't face him. Couldn't face the palace. Couldn't face the truth of what this means. Harry stood and walked to the window. Outside, the rain had turned to a drizzle. London glowed in the distance, unaware that one of its princes was falling apart in a cheap hotel room. William wants me to destroy the letters, Harry continued. Burn them. Pretend they don't exist. He says it doesn't change anything, that I'm his brother no matter what. But Marcus, it changes everything. Marcus thought about duty, about loyalty, about the institution he'd sworn to protect. But he also thought about truth. What do you want to do? Marcus asked. Harry turned from the window. His eyes were red. Tears streaked his face. I want to tell the world, he whispered. I want to be free. Marcus sat in silence, staring at the open briefcase. Letters from a father Harry never knew. Letters that could destroy the monarchy. Letters that could free a man who'd been trapped his entire life. We can't tell the world, Marcus finally said. You know what would happen? Yes, Harry replied. The tabloids would explode. The palace would deny it. They'd call me a liar. They'd destroy me. But at least I'd be telling the truth. What about your brother? Your grandmother? Your Charles? Harry flinched at the name. Charles raised me. I know that. He was there when my mother died. He tried his best. But Marcus, don't you see? My whole life has been a lie. Every photo? Every public appearance? Every time someone said I looked like Charles, I smiled and nodded. But I knew. Deep down, I always knew something was different. Marcus remembered the rumors. The whispers in security briefings. The jokes made behind closed doors. Red hair. Blue eyes. A resemblance to James Hewitt that was too strong to ignore. But rumors were just rumors. Until they weren't. How did William react? Marcus asked. Harry laughed, but there was no humor in it. At first, he didn't believe me. Told me I was being paranoid. Then I showed him the letters. The DNA results. He went quiet. Really quiet. Then he hugged me and said, You're my brother. That's all that matters. That sounds like him. It does. But then the palace got involved. Advisors, lawyers, spin doctors. Suddenly, it wasn't about me and William anymore. It was about protecting the institution, protecting the crown. They offered me money, a house in America, anything I wanted. As long as I stayed silent. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. He'd dedicated his life to protecting these people. But protection meant different things to different people. To the palace, it meant protecting secrets. To Marcus, it should have meant protecting the person. What did you say to them? Marcus asked. I told them I needed time to think. That's when I came here. Harry gestured around the shabby room. I've been sitting in this room for hours, reading these letters over and over. My father, James. He loved my mother. Really loved her. The letters from when they were together, they're beautiful. He wasn't using her. He cared. Harry picked up a letter from the middle of the pile. His hands shook as he read aloud. Diana, watching you with the boys today in the park broke my heart. Harry has your spirit. Your fire. I see myself in him too. The way he challenges everything, questions everything. He's going to be extraordinary. I just wish I could be part of his life, but we both know that's impossible. The world wouldn't understand. I love you. I love him. That will have to be enough. Harry's voice broke on the last sentence. He wiped his eyes roughly. Marcus felt his own throat tighten. He thought about Emily again. The way she looked at him like he could solve any problem. The way she trusted him completely. What if someone told her that everything she believed about her family was wrong? Harry, Marcus said carefully, What if there's another way? What do you mean? What if you don't burn the letters, but you don't go public either? What if you keep them? Keep the truth for yourself. And maybe one day, when the time is right, when the institution is changed, you can decide then. Harry shook his head. That's what William said. That's what the palace wants. But Marcus, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of being told what to do, how to act, who to be. I'm 33 years old, and I've never made a real choice in my life. You chose to serve in the military? They allowed me to serve. There's a difference. Marcus knew he was right. Every decision in Harry's life had been filtered through committees, advisors, and protocol. Even his love life was scrutinized and judged by people who'd never met him. If you go public, Marcus said, you'll lose everything. your title, your family, your security. People will hate you for disrupting the monarchy. Others will call you a hero for telling the truth. But either way, your life will never be the same. Maybe that's what I want, Harry said. Maybe I want my life to change. Phone buzzed. Harry's. He glanced at the screen and grimaced. William, he said. He's calling again. You should answer, I know. But Harry didn't move. The phone stopped buzzing. Then it started again. This time, it was Marcus's phone. He looked at the caller ID. William's private secretary. Marcus answered. Chen, we know you found him, the voice on the other end said. Cold, professional. Bring Prince Harry back to Kensington Palace immediately. This is not a request. Understood, Marcus said, and hung up. Harry was watching him. They found us. They always find us, Marcus replied. That's their job. What are you going to do? It was a simple question, but the answer would define everything that came next. Marcus looked at the briefcase. The letters. The evidence of a secret that had been hidden for over 3 decades. Then he looked at Harry. A man trapped between truth and duty. Between freedom and family, Marcus thought about the oath he'd taken. To protect and serve the royal family, but which part of the family? The institution. Or the person sitting in front of him, broken and desperate for something real. I'm going to drive you back to the palace, Marcus said slowly. But first, I'm going to help you make a choice. A real choice. Not what William wants. Not what the palace wants. What you want? Harry stared at him. Why would you do that? You could lose your job. Your pension, everything. Marcus smiled sadly. Because someone needs to be on your side. And right now, it seems like that someone is me. For the first time since Marcus had entered the room, Harry's expression softened. Hope flickered in his eyes. Marcus pulled out a chair and sat across from Harry. The briefcase lay between them like a bomb waiting to explode. Tell me something, Marcus said. If the palace didn't exist, if there were no consequences, if you could do anything right now, what would you do? Harry thought for a long moment. I'd find James Hewitt. I'd sit down with him and ask him everything. Why he stayed away. If he ever wanted to meet me? If he regrets the affair? If he... Harry's voice caught. If he's proud of me? Marcus nodded. Okay, so why don't you? Because the moment I contact him, the palace will know. They monitor everything. Every call. Every email. Every movement. Not if you don't use your phone, Marcus said. Not if you go old-fashioned. A letter, hand-delivered. Let it. Harry looked at him like he was insane. You're suggesting I write to James Hewitt? I'm suggesting you do what you need to do before you make any big decisions. You've spent your whole life wondering about this. Now you know the truth, but you don't know him. Maybe meeting him will give you clarity. Maybe it will make the choice easier or harder, Harry said. Maybe, but at least it will be your choice. Harry stood and paced the small room. 3 steps to the window. 3 steps back. Marcus could see his mind working, weighing options, calculating risks. If I do this, Harry said, I need your help. I can't move without security knowing. But you could deliver a message. You could arrange a meeting. Marcus felt the weight of what Harry was asking. This wasn't just bending the rules. This was breaking them completely. If anyone found out, he wouldn't just lose his job. He could face criminal charges, aiding a security breach, compromising the royal family. But he thought about his daughter again, Emily, who believed in fairy tales. Who thought princes were heroes? What would he want someone to do for her if she was in Harry's position? Trapped, desperate, alone. I'll do it, Marcus said. But we do this smart. We take the briefcase back to the palace. We tell William you're cooperating. Then, in a few days, when things calm down, I'll arrange the meeting. Somewhere private. Somewhere safe. Harry's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this for me? Marcus stood and placed a hand on Harry's shoulder. Because everyone deserves to know where they come from. Everyone deserves truth. Even princes. The drive back to Kensington Palace was silent. Harry sat in the back seat, the briefcase on his lap. Marcus watched him in the rearview mirror. The prince looked younger somehow, vulnerable. They arrived at 3:15 a.m. The gates opened immediately. Someone had been watching, waiting. William stood at the entrance. He looked exhausted, relieved, angry, all at once. Harry stepped out of the car slowly. The two brothers stared at each other for a long moment. Then William crossed the distance between them and pulled Harry into a fierce hug. "Don't do that again," William said, his voice rough. "Don't run from me." "I'm sorry," Harry whispered. Marcus watched from the car. This was a private moment. He shouldn't be witnessing it. But he couldn't look away. William pulled back and looked at the briefcase. "Did you destroy them?" "No," Harry said. "I can't. Not yet." William's jaw tightened. "Harry, we talked about this. Those letters are dangerous." "If they ever got out, I know," Harry interrupted. "But they're all I have of him. Of the truth. I need more time." William looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Harry's expression stopped him. Instead, he sighed and nodded. "Okay, more time. But Harry, please, be smart about this." They went inside together. Marcus started to drive away, but William called out, "Marcus." A word. Marcus's stomach dropped. He got out of the car and walked over. William's expression was unreadable. "Thank you for finding him," William said. "Of course, Your Highness. And thank you for not calling it in immediately. I know you could have. Should have, but you gave him space. That took courage." Marcus didn't know what to say. Was this a thank you or a warning? "Harry trusts you," William continued. "That's rare for him. He doesn't trust easily anymore. So I'm going to trust you too. Can I do that, Marcus?" "Yes, sir." William held his gaze for a moment longer. Then he nodded and went inside. Marcus drove home as the sun began to rise over London. His mind raced. What had he gotten himself into? He'd just promised to help a prince meet his biological father in secret. If this went wrong, it wouldn't just be his career over. It would be a scandal that could damage the monarchy itself. But he'd made a promise, and Marcus kept his promises. 3 days passed. Harry was kept under close watch at the palace. Official story, he'd been feeling unwell. Needed rest. The press bought it. They always did. On the 4th day, Marcus received a text from an unknown number. "I'm ready. How do we do this?" Marcus recognized Harry's writing style. He must have gotten a burner phone. Marcus replied, "I'll make contact. Give me 48 hours." Finding James Hewitt wasn't difficult. The man lived quietly in a small town in Devon. He'd given a few interviews over the years, always denying he was Harry's father. But those denials always seemed sad, forced. Marcus drove down on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. The house was modest. A cottage with a small garden. Roses in the front. A cat sleeping on the windowsill. He knocked on the door. An older man answered. Hewitt had aged since his army days. Gray hair, weathered face, but his eyes were still sharp. Still intelligent. "James Hewitt?" Marcus asked. "Who's asking?" "My name is Marcus Chen. I work in royal protection. And I have a message for you from Prince Harry." The color drained from Hewitt's face. He gripped the doorframe. "Is this a joke?" "No, sir. It's not." Hewitt stared at him for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. "You'd better come in." The inside of Hewitt's cottage was neat but worn. Photos covered the walls. Many of them were from his military days. Young, strong, confident. But there was one photo that made Marcus stop. Diana smiling. Beautiful. Standing next to Hewitt at a polo match. "I should have taken that down years ago," Hewitt said, following Marcus's gaze. "But I couldn't. Some memories you can't let go of." They sat in a small living room. A fire crackled in the fireplace. The cat jumped onto Hewitt's lap and settled there. "How is he?" Hewitt asked quietly. Harry, confused, angry, searching for answers. Hewitt nodded slowly. I've watched him from a distance his whole life. Every news story, every photograph, every scandal. I wanted to reach out so many times, but Diana made me promise. She said it would destroy him if the truth came out, that he was better off not knowing. He knows now, Marcus said. He found the letters. Hewitt closed his eyes. I wrote those letters never thinking he'd read them. They were therapy, a way to feel connected to him. Diana promised to destroy them when she died. I suppose she couldn't bring herself to do it. He had them DNA tested. The envelopes. Your saliva and... Hewitt's voice was barely a whisper. 99.7% match. Hewitt's hands trembled. He set down the teacup he'd been holding. My God, I always suspected. Always hoped in some terrible way. But to know for certain, he wants to meet you, Marcus said. In person, away from the palace. Away from the press, just the two of you. Tears rolled down Hewitt's weathered face. Why now? After all these years? Because he needs to understand where he comes from. Who he is? The palace wants him to bury the truth. But he can't move forward until he knows who you are. Hewitt stood and walked to the window. Rain pattered against the glass. If we meet and anyone finds out, it will confirm every rumor. Every tabloid story. It will destroy what's left of Diana's reputation. It will devastate the royal family, I know, Marcus said. And you're willing to risk that? Risk your career, your future. I'm willing to help a man find his father, Marcus replied. The rest is not for me to decide. Hewitt turned from the window. His eyes were red, but determined. When? 3 days from now. There's an old estate in Surrey, private, secure. I can get you both there without being seen, and if we're caught, then we all pay the price, Marcus said simply. Hewitt nodded slowly. Tell Harry yes. Tell him I've waited his entire life for this moment. Marcus left the cottage feeling the weight of what he'd set in motion. This wasn't just arranging a meeting. This was potentially rewriting history. He called Harry from a payphone outside a petrol station. It's arranged, Marcus said. Saturday, noon. I'll pick you up from the back entrance of Kensington Palace. He agreed. Harry's voice was tight with emotion. He's been waiting for this moment his whole life. There was silence on the other end. Then, Marcus, if this goes wrong, it won't, Marcus said, with more confidence than he felt. Trust me. Saturday arrived cold and gray. Marcus picked up Harry exactly as planned. The prince wore civilian clothes, jeans, a jacket, a baseball cap pulled low. He looked like any other man in his 30s, except for his eyes. Those eyes carried the weight of royalty and uncertainty in equal measure. They drove in silence for the first 30 minutes. Then Harry spoke. What's he like? James. Older. Quiet. He lives alone. Has a cat? Lots of photos of your mother. Harry flinched at that. Does he hate Charles? I don't think so. I think he just loved your mother, and that love never went away. My whole life people told me I had my mother's compassion and Charles's sense of duty. But maybe I got something from James too. Maybe that's why I never felt like I fit in. Marcus glanced at him. You don't have to do this. We can turn around right now. No one would know. No, Harry said firmly. I need this. I need to look him in the eye and ask him why. Why he stayed away. Why he let me believe a lie. The estate was called Greymore. It belonged to a friend of Marcus's from the military. Someone who understood the meaning of discretion. The house sat at the end of a long gravel drive, surrounded by woods. James Hewitt's car was already there. Harry's hands clenched into fists. He's here. Yes. What if I hate him? What if I look at him and feel nothing? Then at least you'll know, Marcus said gently. They got out of the car. The front door of the house opened. Hewitt stood in the doorway. He looked terrified, hopeful, broken. Harry walked slowly toward him. Each step seemed to take forever. They stopped 3 feet apart. Father and son? Stranger and stranger. Hello, Harry, Hewitt said. His voice cracked. Hello, James. They stared at each other. Marcus could see Harry searching Hewitt's face, looking for similarities, looking for proof, looking for something to make sense of the chaos in his life. Then Harry's face crumpled, and James Hewitt opened his arms. Harry stepped forward and let himself be held by the father he never knew. The father who wrote him letters for 30 years. The father who loved his mother. The father who stayed away because he was asked to. Marcus turned away to give them privacy. He walked back to the car and waited. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. Finally, the door opened. Harry and James came out together. They weren't touching anymore, but there was something different about Harry's posture. Something lighter. "Thank you, Marcus," Harry said. "For everything. What happens now?" Marcus asked. Harry looked at James, then back at Marcus. "Now I make a choice." The drive back to London was different. Harry sat in the passenger seat this time, not hidden in the back. He stared out the window, watching the countryside blur past. "He told me everything," Harry said finally. "About him and my mother, how they met, how they fell in love, how she tried to end it so many times but couldn't." Marcus kept his eyes on the road. And he told me that when she got pregnant with me, she wasn't sure. The timing was complicated. She was still with Charles. Still trying to make the marriage work? But she and James had been together just weeks before. "Does she know?" Marcus asked carefully. Harry nodded. "She suspected. That's why she kept the letters. That's why she made James promise to stay away. She wanted to protect me. Protect the monarchy. Protect everyone except herself." There was pain in Harry's voice, but also understanding. "James said she came to him once. When I was about 5 years old, she was crying. She told him I was asking questions about why I looked different from William. Why my hair was red. Why people stared at me differently." Harry's voice broke. "She wanted James to know that I was his son. She wanted him to know that somewhere out there, he had a boy who was smart and funny and kind. But she also told him he could never be part of my life, that the price was too high." "That must have destroyed him," Marcus said. "It did. He told me he thought about breaking his promise 1,000 times. Every birthday, every Christmas, every time I got in trouble with the press, he wanted to call, to write, to just show up and tell me the truth. But he loved my mother too much to break his word to her." They drove in silence for a few miles. Then Harry spoke again. "He asked me to forgive him. Can you believe that? He asked me to forgive him for staying away. For not being my father. What did you say? I told him there was nothing to forgive. He did what my mother asked. He sacrificed his own happiness to protect me. That's what fathers do." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He thought about Emily, about the sacrifices he'd made for her, the dangerous assignments he'd turned down, the promotions he'd refuse because they'd take him away from home. Love meant sacrifice. James Hewitt understood that better than anyone. "So what now?" Marcus asked. "Are you going to tell the world?" Harry was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, certain. "No," he said. "I'm not going to tell anyone. Not the press. Not the public. Not even Charles." Marcus glanced at him in surprise. "Why not?" "Because James helped me understand something today. The truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it just creates more pain, more chaos. My mother kept this secret to protect me. James kept it to honor her. Who am I to destroy that sacrifice by going public now? But what about your freedom? Your truth?" "I have my truth," Harry said. "I know who I am now. I know where I come from. I met my father. I got my answers. That's enough. The world doesn't need to know. The palace doesn't need to know. This can just be something that's mine. Something private. Something real." Marcus felt relief wash over him. "And the letters? I'm keeping them. But I'm going to do what my mother should have done. I'm going to lock them away somewhere safe. And one day, maybe when I'm gone, maybe when the world has changed, someone will find them, and they'll know the truth. But for now, the secret stays buried." They pulled up to the back entrance of Kensington Palace. Harry made no move to get out. Marcus, he said. What you did for me arranging that meeting, it was beyond anything you should have done. You risked everything. You deserved answers, Marcus replied. And you gave them to me. But now I need to ask you to do one more thing. What's that? Quit, Harry said simply. Marcus stared at him. What? Quit the Royal Protection Service. Today, now, before anyone asks questions. Before anyone realizes what you did. Harry, I can't just... Yes, you can, Harry interrupted. Marcus, you have a daughter. A life outside of this. If anyone finds out about today, about what you arranged, they'll destroy you. Criminal charges. Public humiliation. I can't let that happen to you. I knew the risks, Marcus said. I know you did. But I'm telling you now. Get out while you still can. Tell them you want to spend more time with your family. Tell them whatever you need to tell them. But leave, please. Marcus looked at the palace. 15 years of service. 15 years of protecting a family that wasn't even his own. And for what? For a salary? For a sense of duty? Or for moments like this? Moments where he actually made a difference in someone's life? What will you do? Marcus asked. I'm going to live, Harry said. I'm going to keep serving in the military. Keep doing charity work. Keep being the prince everyone expects me to be. But I'm going to do it knowing who I really am. And that knowledge will be mine. My secret. My power. Harry opened the car door. Then he turned back one last time. Thank you, Marcus. For seeing me as a person, not just a prince. For giving me the gift of truth, I'll never forget it. He got out and walked toward the palace. Marcus watched him go. The young man who'd been breaking apart in a hotel room 5 days ago now walked with purpose. With peace, Marcus drove away from Kensington Palace for the last time. He didn't feel sad. He felt free. When he got home, Emily was waiting at the door. She crashed into his arms, laughing. Daddy, you're home early. I am, he said, holding her tight. And I'm going to be home a lot more from now on. Really? You're not going to protect the princes anymore? No, sweetheart. I'm going to protect someone much more important. Who? You. That night, Marcus sat down and wrote his resignation letter. He kept it simple. After 15 years of dedicated service, he wanted to focus on his family. The palace accepted without question. These things happened all the time in royal protection. Burnout was common, but Marcus wasn't burned out. He was liberated. 3 months later, Marcus received a package. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. It showed Harry and James Hewitt sitting together on a bench talking. They were smiling, and in the corner of the photo, someone had written, "Thank you for giving me this, H." Marcus put the photo in a drawer. Another secret to keep. Another truth that would stay hidden, because some truths weren't meant for the world. Some truths were meant for the people who needed them most. And sometimes, the greatest act of loyalty wasn't protecting an institution. It was protecting a person's right to know who they really were. Marcus never saw Harry again, but he followed his story in the news. Watched him get married, have children, leave the royal family years later to build a new life in America, and Marcus wondered if that meeting with James Hewitt had planted a seed that grew into the courage to choose his own path, to choose freedom over duty, to choose truth over tradition. Maybe it had. Maybe it hadn't. But Marcus liked to think he'd played a small part in helping a prince become a man, and that was worth more than any royal title could ever be. The briefcase full of letters remained locked, away, hidden, safe, waiting for a future that might never come, or might come sooner than anyone expected. Either way, the secret was kept. The truth was protected. And a father and son got one afternoon together. Sometimes that was all anyone needed. Sometimes that was everything.